welcome to Gary's Graveyard Gramblings. It's been a while, and did you notice how I swervificated in and out of the gravestones? Just a little bit there. Well, I did that for those people who are watching this on alternative reality on a Vision Pro or something like that, because I noticed, and hello, I'm back in my usual spot here. Oh, excuse me. That was a little bit breathy, and I just want to explain this because in the last Graveyard Gramblings, somebody posted a note that said, "You're out of breath, see a doctor," which was very, which was very helpful. But what you need to understand is, this to get here is a 1.5 mile walk, and I don't walk slowly. I tend to march at a rate of knots, and therefore by the time I get here to my usual spot in front of, oh, let's just pay due deference to Mr. John Gilbert there, and oh look over there, there's the Mr. and Mrs. Owl over there, you see, Count Dracula and the Brides of Dracula over there, and of course the rich people buried under concrete in the most desperate part of the graveyard over there. Can you see what a beautiful day it is? Well, at least it stopped bleeding raining, because it hasn't stopped of late. I'm fed up with it. And that's why I haven't done very many Graveyard Gramblings, because a foot underneath me is a quagmire. Now, anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah, somebody said that I was out of breath, see a doctor. Well, funnily enough, I did have my annual medical, because when you reach my age, every year you get a note through and it says, you're in training for death officially, so we need to just measure you up. So you go to the doctors. American viewers and foreign viewers won't know this, but in Britain, every year on your birthday, you're called into your general practitioner and they measure you for a coffin. And I got measured, and I think I'm 1/2 an inch shorter than I was last year, so that's going to save a little bit of ash. Anyway, where was I, for Christ's sake? Yes, so it's like a quagmire underfoot in here, but it's lovely to be back in my old spot, you know, because I feel, you know, I've missed it. I've missed you. And it's blue sky and sunshine and a quagmire underfoot. Music hall. That's what I was thinking about as I was on my way here. And it got me to thinking some of my favourite music hall jokes. And I like to always insert a little bit of humour into, I mean, as you know, this is a very serious it's not a podcast. It's a very serious video blog. And, you know, I cover serious things, you know, like Putin and Kim Jong-un and Trump. But today I thought I'd launch the day in the graveyard with a famous old joke, and then we'll take it from there and ramble on from there. So let's say one of my favourite gags from musical days, from British musical days, is this one. And it's sort of saying, well, of course I got a job in a fishmonger's, and this bloke came in and he said, I want hard rows. So I said, well, it's a day off. And of course, audience roars, and that got me to thinking. If you tell that gag these days, many people will simply go, huh? Because hard rows, which meant something to people of my generation, means bugger all to the youth of today. And no trigger warnings, incidentally, so there's no need for anyone to panic. There's going to be no need for people to reach for the inhaler on this Grambling. So, hard rows, well, what is it? Well, if you go into a chip shop, a fish and chip shop, a famous British fish and chip shop, in my day, there were things there that you could get then, but if you say it now, you'd get the, huh? Look straight at you, and row was one of them. Hard rows. Hard rows. It used to come in a great big long tube, sort of a tin thing. I guess it probably originally came in a tin, and it's pressed fish eggs really, really hard together, and it was a sort of a browny grey colour when it came out the tin. And what you used to do was slice it into sort of circular wheels, dip it in batter, drop it in your hot oil and fry it, and that was hard roes. So I'm linking fish shops with hard roes and a suggestion of ladies of the night. So that made me laugh, and that got me to thinking about other things that we Brits chow down on, which other people have no idea about. One of them, of course, is our famous Marmite. Now, everybody knows Marmite is the sort of the butch version. The Australians have got this rather weedy version called Vegemite, which is whereas ours, Marmite, hey? Marmite, that puts hairs on your chest, but it also does something else. And some years ago, I was working in India, and I took a jar of Marmite with me because I had read somewhere that Marmite, if you eat Marmite, it stops mosquitoes. For whatever reason, it gets into your bloodstream, and the mosquitoes go, ugh, and they leave you alone. So I whipped out my Marmite at breakfast, and my dear Indian colleagues who I was working with over there said to me, or whatever that is in Hindi. I'm not going there. But anyway, they were utterly disgusted at this dark, almost black-coloured, thick, sort of oily substance that came out of this jar. So they weren't persuaded. I had to eat it all myself. Couldn't persuade anybody else, like you do. And so for foreigners who don't know what Marmite is, when you get some, if you don't want to be bitten by the malaria carrying mosquito, what you do is you get a jar of Marmite, you get it off Amazon, and smear it all over your arms and your face and your neck and your legs and any exposed area. You can be sparing, because the mosquitoes, if they don't like the taste of it, they certainly won't get out of it if they land on you. And Gypsy Tart. Now, that's another one. I'm getting very parochial now. Gypsy Tart was something that was served to us when we were school children here in Kent, which is in the southeast corner of it. I am English, by the way, just in case there was any doubt. And the canteen ladies who worked in our school dinner facilities used to make great huge trays of this stuff, and it was short crust pastry lining the tin, which was the same size as well, in fact, actually probably as one of these gravestones. And the short crust pastry was filled with this noxious mixture of condensed milk and demerara sugar, that sort of very soft, crumbly, very dark brown muscovado sort of sugary thing. And you whip it up into this thick cream, this stuff, and you fill these, or not me, but they did, filled these trays with this stuff, shove it in the oven for a few hours, and when it comes out, you've got this great sort of slab of sort of grey-brown stuff about that thick with pastry underneath it, and each slice was approximately 12 to 13,000 calories, and it was especially designed to rot our teeth. And therein lies the circle of life if you were a school child growing up in Kent, because you would then get sent to the school dentist who would rip all your teeth out, and then you would go back and they would make another tray of Gypsy Tart. Gypsy Tart, I loved it, but just don't look at my teeth. It's a bit of a joke, isn't it, with foreigners, British, and their teeth. They all think we're like Austin Powers. But I'm not that bad. Well, you know, given my age, they're still my teeth. They're no one else's. Hardman and Hemming. Now, you didn't see that coming, did you? And you're probably saying, what the is that? Hardman and Hemming is a bespoke tailor of distinction of Southborough, Tunbridge Wells. And they make clothes for fine people and even, on occasion, common people like me. What's the link? Well, I went to school, secondary school, in Southborough. That's where I grew up. That's where I had Gypsy Tart. And it is where the tailors now exist on the main London road, Do pop in for a visit if you happen to be. Southborough, of course, for American tourists, is a major tourist destination in the United Kingdom. If you come over, please say to the taxi driver when you come out of Heathrow Airport, "Sir, take me to Southborough." And with all speed, they'll whip you down the motorway to Southborough, drop you off in London Road and give you a bill for £400. It is a wonderful place. Do go to Hardman and Hemming. They're fabulous. Why am I mentioning them here? Well, because Hardman and Hemming have a podcast. Unlike this video blog, their podcast is extremely successful. They're riding high in the charts at the moment. At least they were until my episode comes out next week, when they shall probably temporarily, no doubt, plummet out of it and then plummet back in again when they find someone that everyone that listens to their podcast has actually heard of. And but it was really fun going in there. So what it is, they phoned me up and they said, or they messaged me and said, "Gary, we'd love you to come in and do a podcast, and you can come in and tell us about the things that upset you, that get you shirty." And that's the purpose of the podcast. So I did that. We had great fun. They made me a shirt on the spot, practically. As we were talking, I could hear a sewing machine in the background. At least I think that's what the noise was. It could have been something else. Anyway, and the shirt they made me, yeah, the quality, you want to see it. It's glorious. And in fact, on the podcast, I think somewhere they'll probably put, amongst a few pictures of me in my youth, they'll probably put a picture of me in their shirt. So do pop in and have a listen. That'll be good fun. I'm gradually sinking at the moment behind John Gilbert's stone here, because it is a quagmire in here at the moment. It's only just stopped raining, but it's a beautiful Sunday afternoon here in the village. And I'm now going to bugger off back home, have a lovely cup of decaf. I'm going to have a toffee swirl because we're fresh out of Gypsy Tart. I've got no Marmite in the cupboard, and hard rows don't really go with tea. And I'm going to say salute and see you all soon.